I'm Thomas Mical, and I have a lot of degrees in architecture, and I've taught architecture around the world for many decades. I want to highlight some things to look for if you're looking for an architecture design school. One of the best things to do is to look at the student work coming from the institution you're interested in. The student work often tells you everything, not simply what they value, but how things are made and what is considered important. You can tell from the student work if it's the sort of place you would want to be. Many years ago, Harvard did a retention project to figure out how to keep beginning students in university. They found the most important criteria was if students spent time with people that were dissimilar to them. So the important thing to look at in schools is student diversity. Not just where they come from, but what they think and where they want to go. The student intensity will show up in everything from their work patterns, to their ambitions, to their Instagram pages. Look closely. It's important to understand the relationship between faculty and students. A school is composed of the students and the faculty and the learning process. It's not simply the faculty-student ratio, it's their interaction, it's the dynamism, it's the energy or the forces that play that make a good school good. And to learn this, you have to look at everything from the Instagram pages to the student work to any other source of information you can get from the students. You just want to look at the relationship between faculty and students, not simply the mathematical quantity of how many students per faculty, but the quality of that interaction. A school is based on learning. And it's important to understand not simply who the faculty are, but what they convey in their class. If the students can tell you what gets the faculty excited, what research they're working on, what projects they've built, and the opportunities that they're presenting, then it's probably a good school. The best teaching in a university is informed by research. In design schools, this means also critical and creative practices, how those trickle down into the everyday interactions, the subtle changes of direction in the work process, and the types of questions that are asked. Learning is based on questioning, and questioning informed by research and critical practice is the best form of design education. So you have to look for all of those traces, all of those markers, all of those qualities. Some of the best schools I've worked with and studied at had a great range of diversity of the faculty, not simply in terms of their backgrounds, but everything from their international education, their international work experience, their international connections, but also their global vision of understanding not simply how to do things well in one place, but how to do multiple things well in multiple places. In a contemporary society, the architect and designer has to be equipped to come up with multiple solutions and think globally to act locally. To accomplish that, you want to go to an educational institution that prioritizes those two types of knowledge, the local and the global. And if you can master both of them, you'll be a great designer. Some of the most valuable information you can learn about an architecture and design school is the actual process of how you learn. If it's like cooking in MasterChef or if it's like playing in kindergarten, understanding the workflows and the patterns of the school, its value system, and how this trickles into the everyday interactions, even the materials you use and the words you choose to present with, all of this is important. For students and for the parents that might be supporting them, the biggest question is always, how do you learn? We know that people have different learning styles, and we know that there's different ways to approach all of the different subdisciplines of design, architecture, interiors, and urban design. It's a very, very complex issue. At the same time, you will be exposed in a good design school to a variety of different processes, methods, and worldviews. These are crucial for understanding your possible place in the world and to think about what sort of practitioner you'd like to be in the future. As a consequence, how we learn is the most important data you can extract from a school's information sites. Sometimes they don't have this available though. You have to talk to people. You have to talk to industry colleagues. You have to talk to where the alumni have gone, talk to the students themselves. How you learn is just as important as what you learn today. A good marker of a good design school is where their graduates wind up. Do they stay in the local area? Do they move all over the country? Do they practice internationally? Do they go to the best graduate schools and come back? Do they start their own companies? Do they create new industries? Do they create new disciplines? Do they move into political authority and change the world? All of these are things that have happened with my students in architecture schools. And it's something to look at in terms of the future outcomes and future prospects of the graduates of the universities. Where you go afterwards is just as important as where you go to study. And a good school will have information and tell you where their students go, and they will take pride in the accomplishment of their students and their former students. It's very possible in any school to learn what the current curriculum is, and in many cases, design and architecture curriculums have similarities. But there's always going to be points of difference. Focus on these. The points of difference are also the points of distinction and the basis for your future design identity, perhaps. As a consequence, we want you to look at all of the aspects of the curriculum, the hard skills as well as the soft skills. It is the case that nowadays, with increasing automation, that those soft skills, empathy, creativity, pattern finding, storytelling, are the ones that will get you the job. But it's also the time to think about how we can collaborate and work across different disciplines, work outside of our areas of expertise, build new knowledge systems, and build new teams. Those soft skills are just as crucial as the knowledge you can bring to the table when you're trying to solve a wicked problem. For that reason, you want to look at schools that prioritize soft skills and have a track record in that area. It's very hard to tell the difference between the value and the cost. We know that for all that you invest in education, it pays itself off many times over. But there's also a non-financial consequence. The values of a school are clear in all of the day-to-day activities, in the outcomes of the graduates, in the work they do, and the imprint they leave on the world. If the school is focused on social justice, if the school is focused on equity and inclusiveness, if the school is focused on sustainability and ecological issues, there's a much greater prospect that you'll find other students in other fields working in similar issues, and they will be future collaborators. You want to find a school where the value that is being created is being driven by the students and not simply handed or dispensed to them. Because the value has to do with long-term sustainability, intellectual, economic, and social. And this is an important part of not just design schools, but how design schools contribute to larger intellectual ecology of the university and society as a whole.